Hello, everyone. We want to take this opportunity to say thank you. As you grow at the Golden Boot, so do our needs, but we cannot do it without you. We ask that you continue to like our posts, share our content, and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and other social media platforms. You may also visit thegoldenboot.com for the latest merch. If you would like to make a financial donation, you can do so through Cash App at @Golden Boot or through PayPal at paypal.me/Golden Boot. We look forward to bringing you more laughs, knowledge, and entertainment. And again, thank you for your endless support. Sincerely and respectfully, the Golden Boot team.
The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
Y'all ready to get rolling? Quiet on the set. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the HBCU Hour. It's your boy Pooh Bear. I got my man Ant Petty Murphy in the building. What's good?
What's happening, bro? Doing all right?
I'm doing good, man. I finished my honeydew list a little early today, and I still got in trouble because I ain't helped clean up. But that's what happened. Get ready.
Look bad out here, man. Doing all your honeydews and all that, bro. I mean,
make you look bad. Listen, you still in the honeymoon phase.
I don't know about that.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It only gets worse from. I mean,
Tell her that, not me.
You know, it's always gonna be good. It's the best thing ever. I would recommend it for everybody who's clinically insane. But man, we got a live one tonight. We got a good one, man. We're gonna talk FAMU. We're gonna talk Jackson State, Tennessee State, Alabama State, Miles. We'll probably sprinkle in a little bit more here and there. But we got some great guests. Looking forward to it. Got some people we've been waiting to talk to for a while. We got our DEI guy in the building. Some of y'all will catch it later.
Boy, you crazy, man.
We got our diversity in the building. But man, before we get started, man, shout out to the people in the chat. Chuck checking in. Man, what's up, Simple back? Simple, hey, I'm telling Simple gonna be we're gonna
Simple. I know the Simple only come for the HBCU shows.
Hey, you remember? I'm gonna tell you, remember the white dude that showed up at Jackson State? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Simple gonna be that guy.
Yeah.
He gonna show up. He gonna be at the Southern games. He said he got some eligibility left. He trying to get on running back on the squad. So, but before we get started for real, man, let's shout out to our sponsors over at Bet Online. BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds, news, and info for everything March Madness and NBA this year. From the Final Four to the NBA playoffs, Bet Online is your sports information headquarters this season. If you love sports info, scores, news, and podcasts, you can find everything at Bet Online. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head on over to betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our first guest of the evening from the ONG Strike Zone. As you can see, I told him he sent over. I told him, I said, we're gonna talk about all them accolades. He's the co-host of ONG Strike Zone. He is also the co-host for the BCSN Sports Wrap, vice president of the Black College Sports Network, none other than Mr. Brian Fulford. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back. Welcome to HBCU Hour. Thank you for joining us. How you doing this evening?
Man, I'm great, gentlemen. Thanks for dropping a line and reaching out in the invite.
No problem. I got
appreciate you for joining us, man.
It's funny. My son got up this morning to come here, and maybe it was he got an orange shirt and you can see it, but he got green shorts on too.
There you go. He's ready. So
I don't know if it was premonition or if he knew. I ain't tell him, but he was ready for it. So, but yeah, we glad to have you with us. And of course, we were definitely gonna reach out. It was only a matter of time, and it just so happened to be the right time. So,
well, I love what you guys are doing. I love the variety that you guys have with not just the HBCU Hour, but you cover the home state flavor, and that's important. I mean, there's a lot of I'm seriously. I'm stacking up SWAC hours, so I haven't got to Louisiana as often as I need to, but trust me, I'm writing down every time I get and talk to somebody from the Bayou. I'm places to go. I gotta go somewhere other than just the Mardi Gras and the stuff down there on the. I can't even think of the name of the street now, but I gotta have something more than BAs. Yeah, the Bourbon Street. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been down there. So
yeah, we gotta get you out of Florida and away from the Satan anyway. But we ain't gonna go there right now.
Not gonna go there. Yeah, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Right.
But let's start here, y'all. First off, I do want to say we never met Mr. Kofi, but our deepest condolences. Everybody we met who knew him said nothing but great things. Talked very high of him, and his impact could be seen everywhere. By everybody he touched. So our deepest condolences to him.
Yeah, no, I mean he was an original. He was a real one. He was and I think this day and age with the mediums of the internet and just internet shows was perfect for Kofi. And like I said, he really was our show, and the show he did with Scotty from Off Script is about a 2-year window. But you talk about maximizing the most out of those 2 years and those 2 football seasons. There weren't too many places where he went that somebody didn't recognize him, know him, talk to him, and he always showed genuine love to everybody. And that's always the part. This football season won't be the same. So it's like every episode, every opportunity, like I said, even coming on your show, I'm inspired that so many people are promoting HBCU athletics in so many different ways, because that's what Kofi would want. Kofi would want us talking about HBCUs, and the phrase that we adopted with him was doing more with more. We want to get out of just being low resource schools or talking about, hey, we can do more with less. No, we want to do more with more. So as more shows come on and talk about HBCUs, it's only going to generate interest, which will generate revenue, and it's a trickle down. So yeah. So
understand, definitely understand. I want to come back to the trickle down and the giving and stuff. We're gonna come back to that at the end. I just want to make sure I put a pin in that.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chuck in our chat said, what's up, Brian? He says he talks about Kofi as well. Say it was great when he met him at Grambling and Florida A&M game last 2022 in Grambling. So
yeah, I can't wait to meet Chuck wherever I am, because Chuck, I love Chuck. Chuck is
everywhere.
Chuck is everywhere, and I love that, man. Great interaction, great support of all of the shows where I see him, and so that's one of the guys that I look forward to dapping up and giving a hug whenever I see him. And so
Chuck is a real life Tony Reale. Well, he, said if something comes up trivial, he knows it. Swami.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember Swami. He definitely
Schwab. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that. I love that there are people out there, and I mean, so there's people with so much history, and that's the one thing that we have to keep letting people know. Like you brought your son in there, and I mean, he has access to so much information, and so there are great people out there that have stories to tell and information to share, and it's easily accessible. And so we just got to keep sharing it with young people, man, and they'll grow up hungry and be fed by all this great HBCU content and information that we put out there.
Yeah. We're gonna get to football eventually. Hold on, but I do want to say, we went to. He actually got his first HBCU experience this past Saturday. We went to the Alabama State spring game, and as soon as we walked in, we were standing up, and I was looking for somewhere to sit, and the band started playing. And I said, "You want to sit down?" He said, "Nah, I'm good right here." So, okay. I said, all right, we good then. We good. And so he asked me the other day, he said, "Dad, do you like Alabama State?" I said, "Yeah, I like Alabama State." He said, "All right, I like them too then." And then he said earlier, because I actually live in Huntsville. So he said earlier, he saw Vanderbilt's schedule. And he said they play Alabama A&M. He said, "We can't go to that game." He said, "We can go to all the rest of them. We can't go to that game." Said, all right.
He didn't picked up on the rivalry already, huh?
Wow. He didn't picked up on the rivalry. He knows that he wants to see more about HBCUs, and so I was like, "Hey, I like it. I like it." So
my real quick, my dad was he was in the band, so he went to Norfolk State University in the band, and so that was my indoctrination to HBCU is through him in the band. And he would always tell me about the band, but then he would always tell me about the dance teams. And so, I was, like I said, I was schooled on how great the dance team. And he would always say, "That school down in Tallahassee, they don't have no dancers, but they play great music." He was like, I wish I could have gone there. They don't have no girls, but I mean dancing and all that stuff. But they just play great music, and he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. So yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about this past weekend. FAMU spring game. Y'all are returning probably the best quarterback in the SWAC, arguably the best quarterback in the SWAC, in Musa. Tell me, what did you see in this team that may, I guess, give you a little bit more optimism or about this upcoming season?
Well, it's great. I'm glad you started there with Musa, because I know when you look at the landscape with Shedeur gone, many people will say, "Well, who's the best returning QB?" And unfortunately, QB1 down at Texas Southern, Mr. Body, he's coming off of an injury. And so I know a lot of people might think talent-wise it's him, and I guess healthy he very well might be, but it's kind of cool that Jeremy Musa is coming into the role that he's coming in, second team SWAC. And so now he has to he has everything at his disposal. He has a plethora of weapons, offensive schemes. He's got running backs, receivers. He has to clean up on some of the things that went bad in some games, i.e. Alabama State. And he has to improve his completion percentage. So those are the things that Jeremy Musa has to do. But it's encouraging for him. In the post-game comments, he talked about now he's had a full year. Because last spring, he really was coming in. I think he didn't come in until January. And so now he's had a full year of reps. He started practically every snap. He started every game, but played almost practically 95% of the snaps. So there's a lot of familiarity with this offense, and that's encouraging. But this team is built on its depth on defense. We legitimately have. I feel like we're too deep. It's one of those things that the big difference that people say between FCS and FBS schools is when you get to that second and third unit. Well, I think FAMU has a legit too deep, and they're going to challenge each other, and this might be a better defense than 2 years ago. Not necessarily last year, but the team that had Marquise Bell on it, and Isaiah Land. So high expectations already.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that about the expectations. Obviously, with that guy gone from Jackson State, everybody's kind of looking at FAMU as, now or never, as far as whenever they're gonna, stake their claim for the East. What is the expectations for the season from the fan base there in Tallahassee?
Well, given some of the things that have been done with the schedule, it's a SWAC championship, Celebration Bowl, or bust.
Yeah,
that's what we're playing for. You will not hear any conversation about playing for the playoffs, because we've got 2 Division II teams on our schedule. So people are always going to hold that against you. So it is what it is. Fine. We got our 8-game SWAC schedule. That's what it's all about, and it starts week 1. And so it's SWAC championship, get to the championship, win the championship, get to the Celebration Bowl, win the Celebration Bowl, period.
Yeah. You talked about the defense. You also lost a key receiver on the offensive side. How do you think you guys replace him? How do you guys fill in? Do you go more? I guess you could say evenly balanced with the spread now, because y'all lost a big one. Yeah.
I mean, there's no replacing Xavier Smith. No replacing him. And what's funny is Xavier Smith had to replace a top level receiver prior to him coming on as the main guy. And so, look, there's this thought that Coach Simmons' nature is to throw the ball, right? But we have so many dynamic running backs, and when we are at our best, like I felt like, personally 2 years ago, that 7-6 game against Jackson State, that was a game where we had opportunities to run the ball and we got away from it, or maybe a penalty hurt us while we were trying to run the ball, right? And then there's other games where you almost want us to run the ball, but now you look at our depth with some of the running backs we have. Terrell Jennings is the lead returner. Jaquez Yant is like cut like Derrick Henry. I mean, literally, he is ridiculous in his size. And then you got speed backs like Leland Wilhoit, Kelvin Dean. So I mean, will we run the ball is the question. I don't know if we'll truly be a 50-50 or a 55-45. I don't think we can be a 60-40. I really don't think we can be a 60-40, short of some injuries occurring, but that's what we want to be able to run the ball. I think there's a large segment of fans, Rattler Nation, will privately, jokingly even tell Coach Simmons, run the ball. But we understand our coach's nature. Our coach wants to throw the ball, even if it's throwing those little bubble screens or those little passes in the flat. That's what he wants to do. He wants to throw the ball, but somehow he has to find a balance with all these big offensive linemen that we have. We got to find a way to balance it. So fingers crossed that we are I'll go 52-48. If we're a 52-48 pass run, I'll be happy. I'm never going to say Willie Simmons is going to do 50-50. But if he gives me 52-48, I'll be happy.
Who are some guys who kind of really stood out to you in the spring game? Some guys that we should look forward to making a big impact next season.
Defensively, I mean, you got to start with the defensive line, Kamari Stevens. He is sort of the guy being tabbed as the next solid defensive lineman. He had a good year kind of And Isaiah Lamb didn't play the full 11-game schedule, and Kamari Stevens really shined. I think he was our sack leader, tackle for loss leader. He's the one that's kind of stepped into the role, and FAMU did this whole spring draft where the coaches kind of do that whole draft, the guys on the orange and green, and he was the number 1 overall pick over guys like Jeremy Musa, over Isaiah Major, who both of those guys were all SWAC. So I think that tells you something about who the coaches think has been the most dominant guy over the summer. Of course, Isaiah Major is, I'll be interested to see preseason defensive player of the year. Will it be somebody like Stevens, or could it be Isaiah Major? Just throwing that out there, see which one of those two guys. But Major is a heck of a linebacker who goes sideline to sideline. Right next to him, though, Jordan Moore. Jordan Moore is a guy who moved from safety to linebacker. And last year, we were hoping that he would be able to play, but he didn't. But he was around, and so him moving into that spot says a lot. And then in the secondary, I mean, there are guys like Kendall Bowler, who we were talking on our show yesterday with Malik Obi of DraftHBCUPlayers.com, and he's very big on Kendall Bowler. I mean, if you liked his brother BJ, word on the street, Kendall might be, just because of his size and just skill set, he might be a little bit better. And BJ was an All-American, All-SWAC DB, right? So I'm saying, hey, Kendall is supposed to be better, supposedly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Eric Smith on the other side is another All-SWAC DB. So, I mean, they're guys. And then I don't want to forget General Hunt up front. He didn't play this spring because he's recovering from an injury, but General Hunt in the middle and the interior of the defensive line is legit. And so when he comes back, along with the rest of our defense, it's a lot. It's fun, man. We just gonna watch these guys do work, and every week it should be fun. And that's why I say there's a lot of encouraging thoughts when we think about this team compared to 2 years ago. I mean, they're gonna have to do it. I mean, that team 2 years ago was they held people to under 10 points a game on average. This team, I mean, we've got a chance to beat an FBS school this year, I believe. And if it happens, it's because this defense goes out and makes it happen.
I honestly believe y'all could have beat North Carolina last year if things had if y'all would have went full strength. But that's neither here nor there. One thing we always say: the porter giveth and the porter taketh away. But it gave to y'all
a lot.
You know what I'm saying? A lot.
It gave a lot.
Oh, yeah.
When y'all just got stronger on the offense side of the ball with former LSU Tiger Cordell Thomas. Big get for you guys. I know we talked prior to coming on. I think that was an excellent move, not only on his part but for FAMU as well. So does nothing but strengthen you guys.
But the thing is, they landed him right after they had just landed, a guy on the other side of the ball.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So and our guy Josh Sims from HBCU Nightly said it, I believe last night, that FAMU is winning the offseason. Like, if you had to give grades for the offseason, I think FAMU definitely would have the best grade. My question to you is, how do y'all translate that onto the field? We know y'all got the talent. We know y'all, y'all have had it in past years, but how do y'all get over the hump in this season and translate that talent into, the SWAC championship, Celebration Bowl berth?
I'll tell you, this may sound crazy, but the biggest addition for FAMU is not on the field, but it's off the field in the administration offices. I mean, because the last couple of seasons, especially last year, we understand there were issues going into the year, right? Because staff and staffing wasn't as good as it should have been, could have been. Well, now we have a new athletic director and VP, Tiffany Dawn Sykes. She went out, and one of her first priorities was to bring in a quality compliance staff, multiple people, bring in people who've had experience, do the kind of training and help them. I mean, she has a background in compliance. Um, she's even talked about, I think next week, that the NCAA is actually coming to campus to look at how we do things and to help FAMU. I feel like that's one of those underappreciated things to kind of say, hey, look, we're trying to get our stuff right. Look at what we're doing and tell us what is and what isn't. And she's got a good relationship with the NCAA. So saying all that, what that means is when guys are coming in, when you have all these transfers, there's a lot of checks and balances that go into that. And that's one of the things that we learned. I mean, Coach Simmons was very open and honest about things that we learned when you have all these transfers. I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances that have to be done to make sure the grades are right, the credits transfer, and all this other stuff. And you think guys just come in and suit up and play. Nah, it doesn't really work that way. So it takes a team of people getting involved. And so I feel like we have a better chance to go into the fall camp and the first game of the season knowing for sure, without any last minute surprises, who is ready, who is not going to be ready, and hopefully more to the side of guys who are ready. So I believe that the experience of last year is one of those messages that Coach Simmons will have with guys, to them, about taking care of their business in the classroom, making sure you're checking in with the right people in compliance that you're supposed to, because we can talk about being great on paper, but if you can't even get on the field for that first game in Miami, Florida, what are we talking about? And that's a conference game, so let alone just the first game. So you got to do the things that you got to do, the right things to get yourselves eligible. So that to me is the most encouraging thing, to kind of say, okay, we're going to have that part handled. Now is, I have complete trust in Coach Simmons, and we know the talent is there, and let's take that burden off of our shoulder so that guys can just buckle down and play and be at their best.
Man, there's never enough time in the day.
True that, true.
But we definitely would need to we're gonna have to get you back, especially before the season, to talk about this team. But before you go, I do know it is the season of giving. So go ahead and tell everybody about, what FAMU is doing, and also tell them about where they can find you.
Yeah, so right now FAMU is having their Day of Giving. So that's happening, Days of Giving, actually. 1887 strikes is the campaign. So going on between today, April 20th, through April 21st. We're raising funds at Florida A&M University. Specifically, our show, the O&G Strike Zone, we've got a campaign that we're running to help specifically the athletic department. So if anybody, and all we're asking for is $20 or $18.87. So if you want to make a small donation to FAMU Athletics on our behalf, you can actually text 1887 strikes 325. That's 1887 strikes 325 to the number 71777. So again, that's 1887 strikes 325 to the text number 71777. $20, $18.87, whatever you want to donate, and all of it goes filtered. We don't even touch it; it just goes right to athletics, and so that's what we're trying to do to help out FAMU and FAMU athletics. And our show is every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 Eastern on the Black College Sports Network. You can find us at O&G Strike Zone on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's where we're at. And then the show I do on Sunday night is more of a general HBCU show that I do with my guy, AD Drew. We've been doing that show for about 6 years now. And it's on Sunday night, 6 p.m. As well on the Black College Sports Network. And so it's fun to kind of talk just HBCU topics in general, and then in the middle of the week, kind of get in there with my guys Kelvin Rozier and Marcus Green, and we just specifically talk about FAMU. So, I appreciate your time, guys, and that's kind of what we try to do.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate you coming on. Look forward to having you back.
Sure.
Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Brian Fulford from ONG Strike Zone. All right. Now we got to bring up our next guest. Represent Jackson State. JSU in the building. We got from HBCU Overdrive, our man, the host, Doc Holliday, and also affectionately known as Blue, our good friend, our good man, Zach McKinnell. He also our DEI compliance, so we good for the quarter.
So man, you calling him our affirmative action guest, man?
Yeah, you remember from hold on, let's go gotta give them a hand claps. We gotta give them a hand clap. Appreciate y'all coming on, fellas. Hey, you remember Undercover Brother? Neil Patrick, that's Zach for us. Zach, he just fit right in. Zach, Zach always come in. He always cool. Got the latest information. Like, Zach, where you found that out? He just know. He just know.
Zach plugged in for real, man.
Yeah. What's good, fellas? How y'all doing this evening? Oh, y'all on mute.
My bad. There we go.
Hey, good. What's good, Doc?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. Just living another life in paradise, aka Triple D.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, I know Zach is driving. Zach got hit up with the last minute.
Yeah.
Last minute travel plans.
Like, hey, it's a good man. Hey, I've never complained about it, man. Like, listen, to get a call that I get to sit down with Hugh tomorrow, get to talk to the OCDC, some of the big players, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But yeah, we on the road, but like Doc can tell you, man, always on the road. So hey, nothing changes here, man. But I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, as always.
I got headed to exit 81, huh?
Yeah, Zach, make sure you send in your form so we good for the quarter on our quota.
I got you, man. I got you. I'm gonna have you on once a month, man. I'm gonna up that quota.
Nah, man. But man, Zach, I do appreciate you coming on this week. Talk Tennessee State. You might be back next week to talk Grambling for us. But I do want to start here, man. Tennessee State. This is year 3, right? Under Eddie.
Yeah, year 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say now or never, but from what you saw, are they ready to kind of turn things around and at least be competitive?
Man, it's all going to hinge on the offense, man. I think defensively, they're going to be elite. I thought they were great last year. I mean, I think out of everyone, I mean, even Central got scored on by Jackson. I don't think there was a defense outside of maybe the Campbell game that really held Jackson State in check last season. I mean, that defense suffocated Jackson for 3.5 quarters. And that was the theme throughout the year. When you look at that defense statistically, they ranked top 5 in the OVC and everything. Top 5 in the FCS in like red zone, third down, some turnover stats. They had so much talent defensively, and they brought in even more. You add Monroe Beard, who's a 3-time All-SWAC selection edge rusher linebacker from UAPB. You add Jalen Bell, who's an All-SWAC defensive tackle from Mississippi Valley State. Kavon Pope comes back. James Green gets a 6-year of eligibility. Bryce Phillips, whose older brother is probably headed to the NFL this year. Clark Phillips III from Utah. He's back after his breakout all OVC newcomer season. They got so much talent on the defensive side of the football, man. And Brandon Fisher is energized. He's a great coach. And then you got Jeff Fisher as an analyst working on that side. So they got so much going on there. The issue is going to be, can they score? They went 3 consecutive weeks mid-season not scoring. They lost to a winless Murray State team, 19-0. They got beat 42-0 by SEMO, and then there was another one thrown in there. That can't happen. And the fact that Draylon Ellis is having some off the field stuff go on and couldn't play this spring only added to what is that offense going to be. Now, Jalen Rouse is going to be the starting running back. He's going to be great. But offensive line and a number 2/3 wide receiver is my biggest questions for Tennessee State. But it's like you said, it's kind of do or die. I got to talk to Eddie, got to talk to Brandon Fisher, Coach H, the offensive coordinator, some of the players. They feel the pressure. Like, you got to think, Eddie George, Brandon Fisher, all these guys have been around. They know it's do or die. But the kind of the overall takeaway I got from my visit, because I spent 3 days in the facility, is they feel like they have their guys, their team, and they pretty much said, if we can't compete, that's on us right now.
Yeah, so Jeff Fisher on staff, so they're guaranteed to go 500 is what you're saying.
I hope not, man. Like, this is the toughest part, because I'm sure you guys understand too. I mean, we kind of grow close, especially interviewing players, talking to coaches. You develop relationships with these guys.
Definitely.
Man, there is not a more personable staff in HBCU football, in my opinion, than that staff, man. I want Eddie George to succeed. I want Brandon Fisher to succeed. Coach H is awesome. All the players were great. It's just, man, like, every time they had a chance to take that step, they failed. Because just think about that Eastern Washington game to open the season. You have a huge lead, and you kind of choke it away down the stretch, and you miss a chance to have a signature out-of-conference win against a Big Sky team who was ranked at the time. Then you get Jackson State in the Southern Heritage Classic, and, I mean, you led for the early part of that game, and they didn't score a touchdown until 3 minutes left in the game. You probably needed a few first downs and 1 touchdown, and you win that game. And then you got the Murray State game where it was 19-0, but your offense gave up 2 pick sixes. It's just like consistently shooting themselves in the foot. So it's the big question is, can they stay out of their own way? And can Draylon Ellis figure it out off the field and be back? Because if he doesn't come back, you're looking at, I believe it's Davion Bryant probably being the starter, but I don't feel like he offers you the same ceiling that a Draylon Ellis does at quarterback. And so now you're looking at, is the fan base good with another third place finish in the OVC? And that's a question I don't really know the answer to.
Yeah, I think it kind of would depend on not just, the wins and losses, but kind of how they looked in some of those wins and losses. Like you said, the Murray State game, you can't have games like that where you beat yourself in a sense, and I think Eddie George knows where he's at as far as his timeline and his tenure there. And I think that he feels the sense of urgency. So I just hope that his team kind of buys into what he's preaching and kind of gives him what he's asking for as far as that sense of urgency from them as well.
I mean, the schedule lays out a lot better, in my opinion. Just like, yes, you got the Notre Dame game, but you had an FBS game last year. So you're not winning that game. Let's get out of South Bend without any major injuries. And really and truly, with Draylon not practicing a lot, I don't know if I would start Draylon that week anyway. Let's save him until we get into some FCS games. He has an injury history already. Draylon Ellis got hurt against Jackson and made it worse in their FBS game last year, which is why they lost to Lane, because they had 10 starters out. You can't have that happen again with Notre Dame. But you trade Jackson for UAPB. No disrespect to UAPB, but that's a much more winnable game than Jackson probably was. Then SEMO drops off, who SEMO just went to the playoffs, was one of the co-OVC champions. You switch them out for Lindenwood, who just came up from D2 last season. It was a pretty good team, but that's not as a steep competition as a SEMO was with Geno Hess and those guys. And then you get Gardner Webb, who lost a lot of starters. They won the Big South, but that could be a signature win. You got him for the John Merritt Classic. And so I think when I look at the schedule, the opportunity is there to make a run potentially at the FCS playoffs if you win the right games. But it's just like you said, that question of, man, can they get it together offensively? Because you're not going to the playoffs scoring less than 20 points per game. That is a recipe for disaster. And regardless about how good your defense is, there is not a defense in the country. And you guys know this looking at Power 5 football. It does not matter how good Alabama, LSU, Auburn's defenses might be. If that offense can't get off the field, that defense is going to falter at some point.
Yep. Yeah. You muted, Pooh.
My bad. Good call. Good catch. Doc, man, ask this. We know the change that happened at top at Jackson State. Well, let me ask this.
They had a change?
Yeah, it's a little small one. Let me ask this. When y'all gonna start putting out content?
Bro, we been
Boy, you petty.
boy, you
petty.
you stupid, man. Come on now.
Boy, you petty.
but no, seriously, man. Y'all now run the ship is headed by TC
Yes, sir.
TC Taylor, who we know has a great pedigree himself. Did some great things when he was at Central, right? Am I getting
As a coach?
As a coach,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
as a
sorry.
coach.
He's back home, alumni, back home, taking the ship. How's the team adjusted to TC?
Well, I could say this. I talked to one of the players on Tuesday, Batman Mitchell, and he's saying that the morale of the team is high with TC at the helm. If you if you to know TC, man, like he's methodical, he's quiet, he don't really say too much, but when he do, like you listen. But it is the crazy thing is I've known TC since we were freshmen at Jackson State. So I seen him when he came in as a quarterback. I seen him when he got switched over to receiver. I seen him when he was busting everybody's ass. So as a receiver. Um and basically he don't say too much and he put in the work. And that's the type of team that you're gonna see. Like let our play do our talking. That's what we're gonna see. But the players, man, the players love him, bro. The players love him.
So Doc, transfer portal.
What's that?
Transfer portal giveth, transfer portal take. So obviously, whenever you have a change like y'all had, there's gonna be some turnover on the roster.
Right.
I think we expected some of the guys to leave, and those guys did leave. But I think a lot of us were surprised at some of the names that decided to come back.
Right.
How much of it do you think was the fact that TC was the guy, and how much of it do you think was the fact that they just like being at Jackson State and they just like, the environment and the culture of Jackson State?
I think it's 50-50. I think it's 50-50. Like I said, those kids love TC, man. And they love the atmosphere, they love the aura of being at Jackson State. You know what I'm saying? Being at the HBCU. So that's why they stayed there. But like you said, we knew that most of the players that was gonna leave, we knew Shador was gonna leave because of course that's his fault. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shiloh was gonna leave, but Shiloh's been taking online courses to finish up at Jackson, so he be graduating next week.
I actually thought Shiloh was gonna stay for a while.
You know what though? That's what I thought too. I thought he was gonna stay, and just because of his demeanor, his disposition, because of the fact that, not saying that he doesn't fool with his dad like that, but he's more more geared towards his mother, which is Pilar. But of course, Shador was gonna go because that's, to me, I feel like that's the golden ticket for you. Of course, Travis is gonna go because hell, that's another that's an adopted son.
Pretty much,
for Prime. Cam Simmons, Craig, that's Shador's old teammate in high school. That's they homeboys. So Tyler Brown leaving and Jeremiah Williams. No, Jeremiah Brown. I'll take that back. Jeremiah Brown leaving. Just those, that kind of core group leaving to go up to Boulder, that we kind of knew that was going to happen. And then, of course, you got to realize too, not everybody jumped in the transfer portal.
Right.
You had Aubrey, Aubrey Miller actually graduated,
Yeah.
getting ready for the NFL. Isaiah Bolden graduated, getting ready for the NFL. Um, uh, actually had Willis Patrick. Even he went into the portal, but he ended up back home here in Dallas, go to TCU, and he's pretty much going to be penciled in as a starter. So it's a we we give those kids our best regards,
Right.
because they did something that we haven't seen in Jackson State football since the late W.C. Gordon.
Yeah.
And if you know the history about Jackson State football, you know the history about W.C. Gordon, that's what that's what we was known for back in the 80s. We ruled HBCU football in the 80s. We ruled the SWAC in the 80s. But the way that TC has this team now, he's going to go back to what he knew, which is when he played under James Big Daddy Carson in the 90s. And we had a attitude, we had an attitude about it. That's why that's why we could be so arrogant. You know what I'm saying? Us Jackson State people, man, we so arrogant with it. But
it really has become a Jackson State versus the world kind of mentality.
Yeah,
And it's especially after the departure.
So you mentioned the people who decided to come back. There was a guy who came back, but then he decided he was going to leave also. How surprised were you when Savion put his name in the portal?
I was a little bit surprised, but it didn't shock me. Because at first, when you thought about when everything was going down, he pretty much kind of had one foot in the door, one foot out.
Yeah.
So when he decided to stay, everybody was happy because that's our leading rusher from the season before. And we had some sort of continuity when it came down to the running backs position. But when he entered to the portal, it didn't, like I said, it didn't. I mean, it surprised me a little bit, but it didn't, faze me, because I feel like we have a group of running backs. That running back room is like stacked, like super stacked. And it's all going to start with J.D. Martin. So you got J.D. Martin, who pretty much is almost J.D. Martin is built like Tony Pollard for the Cowboys. If you really think about it, can run in between the tackles. When he get outside of the tackles, it's hard to either A, bring him down, or B, catch him.
Yeah.
He's dual threat, so he can catch football out of the backfield. You can line him up at receiver. There's different ways you can give J.D. Martin the ball. Then you also have Seven McGee, who is pretty much like Seven McGee. Pretty much to me is like Percy Harvin when he was at Florida, just everywhere on the field. Slot, outside, running back, kick return, punt return, whatever you want to put him at. To me, I feel like he's going to be dynamic. And that's another one that the transfer portal gave to us. Him coming from Oregon. Caleb Jolivet, who is a returning, we're not a starter, but a returner as far as bringing in depth in that in that room. Then there's a gem in Ezekiel Johnson, who nobody didn't know who it was, but he popped out during the spring game. So, and haven't even talked about Irv Mulligan, who's transferring in from Wofford. So he's not in school there yet on campus, but he'll be there for the summer. So like I said, the running back room is real deep. I just think like whoever gonna be the quarterback, he gonna have a good choice of players to choose from to hand the ball off to, man.
Yeah.
Zach, quick question for you. I know our next guest, he gonna this probably be one of his questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask what that O-line play look like at Tennessee State.
Man, it's always so hard because listen, I've been so vocal. I do not like drafting teams, especially at the FCS level with the amount of scholarships,
Mhm.
especially with when some of the scholarships aren't on campus
Mhm.
because you don't have the depth to do that at some positions. Like, yeah, there's some schools that they got a whole lot of receivers, so it's going to look amazing. But guess what? All their corners aren't there. So what do you really learn from your number one wide receiver going to beat up on a fourth stringer?
Right.
I don't think you see that. And that's the same thing with offensive line because with some of these drafts, you've seen guys who aren't going to see the field this year, and they got to block guys like Alabama A&M. They had a guy blocking Zarion Hayes. Well, good luck with that because it's not going to happen. Because Zarion is going to eat him alive because they're not in the same spot at their development. Now, on one hand, you can say, yeah, it helps offensive line, that guy develop. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing with offensive line play for me this early on is building chemistry, building continuity,
Mhm.
working on that communication, working on that chemistry. Are we stepping together? Are we making sure we're picking up these blitz reads? Are we knowing where, how, and when to step? Like, there's just so many intricacies in offensive line play that I don't feel like get worked out in that spring game, which is why I feel like the true tell of offensive line play are those scrimmages, where it's 1v1, not really on TV. And I just don't think it shows anything. But I mean, Tennessee State had a solid offensive line. I think they're right now, it feels like they're a little bit better at run blocking. But then also with the offensive line of Tennessee State, you can't really tell because Monroe Beard didn't play, Jalen Bell didn't play, Kavon Pope didn't play, James Green played sparingly. Like Brandon Fisher told me, he said, man, we're not playing any of our starters. He said, we're so good, I don't need to see them out there. He said, these people came to see touchdowns. He said, if I played my starting 11, he was like, I don't know if we'd score today. That's how good we'll be.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
I got to see them against the ones, but I think they'll be solid. They got some good pieces. They brought in Romello Watson, who was the Grambling transfer.
Right.
JUCO All-American. They got a few guys returning. I think I'll say this: they have some size. You can always work with size. They got a few guys returning, and they got some promising young guys. It'll just be, can they build the chemistry? And that's my biggest question mark with everyone throughout the spring, man. Because listen, you can have the stars, you can have the size, you can have all this stuff, but until they play together, week in and week out, and communicate well together, and they're gelling, man, I don't trust it until I see that. Because man, listen, Jackson State in 2021 had a whole lot of stars,
Oh,
a whole lot of size.
our offensive
And,
line was
man,
trash.
man, they couldn't block a soul all season long. I mean, they couldn't block anybody. And so, and I always say this, man, I'd rather have 5 guys who were 0 stars that have played together for multiple years and are gelling than a whole line of 5 stars who don't like each other and can't communicate.
Yeah, that's true. So Zach, since you say the starting defense wasn't there, how did what you see alter your expectations any, if it did?
I feel like defensive expectations were already high. I'm expecting them. I've been honest about it. They got to finish top 2 in the OVC if they're that good. They got the talent. They got the coaching. Listen, man, y'all got to go out there and produce, man. I said it on Doc's show because I called into his show when I was driving back from Nashville.
Mhm.
I don't expect many FCS teams to be able to score 21 or more points on them. That's on their schedule.
Oh.
Like that's the type of dominance I need to see defensively from Tennessee State. Now, offensively, still got a lot of questions because Draylen Ellis didn't play. But I do think they got the pieces, man. Like I said, Jalen Rouse, running back, looked really promising. They got the backup transfer. I want to say he transferred in from Buffalo last season, and I'm blanking on his name while I'm driving. I feel terrible about it. I want to say it's Emerson or something like that. But then they had a wide receiver, a Ball State transfer, Karate Brinson, man, long, rangy, great route runner. I think he'll be wide receiver 1. But let me tell you, they got a little secret weapon, and I call it their little Julian Edelman. It is a little kid wearing number 11, a little white dude who no one could cover all spring game. I mean, routing people up to death. It made a 50-50 catch on the touchdown pass where, I mean, he hit the gritty afterwards and everything on him. I mean, it was ridiculous. That kid's going to be – I heard that he is going to stand out all spring. I'm really hoping they slot him in the slot because if you remember last year, Zach Dobson, number 24, was a big slot piece to that offense. He graduated. I really think he could be a secret piece to that Tennessee State offense, man. But like I said, the offensive takeaways are far and few between just because you don't have your starting quarterback, your offensive line isn't playing together, and the defense kind of, was playing with a handicap against you in the spring game.
Yeah.
All right. Doc, before we get ready to get up out of here, I'm gonna ask this. What are some areas that actually improved? Or I'm not gonna say improved. Let me ask this because that's kind of unfair. What are some areas that were surprising to you, like pleasantly surprising, I guess you could say?
Yeah. So, one area to me that was surprising was it was the defensive backfield, and that's where we talked about TC going in try to talk guys from jumping into the portal. You had Kerry Wiggins, K5, who decided, at the last, not say at the last minute, but close to it, that he wasn't going to jump in that portal. Also, Jalen Hughes becoming, being probably going to be penciled as the day one starter on the other side at cornerback. Then when you also bring in Isaiah Guthrie coming in from Delaware State, FCS All-American at safety. So, having him in as pretty much almost the quarterback of that backfield, defensive backfield is a good thing. And then Keydrane Callaghan bringing them in, which I like it because with him coming in, when we had Shiloh, of course Shiloh is a thumper, but he couldn't cover a baby's ass if he wanted to. But you got somebody that can actually cover, that can actually hit. He's versatile. Another surprise that I saw for our team was the defensive line. Having Niles Gaddy come back in and what he did last season, injured. Zach, if I'm not mistaken, he got injured in the Tennessee State game, or was it after
Grambling? It was
game?
the Grambling game. They hit him with like an illegal cut block, and it messed up his knee for a little while.
Right. You talking about a guy that already had like pretty much almost 6 sacks in 2 games, because he had 4.5. I'm gonna say 4.5 because they say 3.5. I'm gonna say 4.5. He should have had more in that Tennessee State game. He was giving Draylon Ellis fits in that game. But getting him back where he grew, I think he grew another inch. He's at 6'5". He got the weight on him now. He's at a good 250, 255. So he's going to be your standout defensive end right there. Keeping Devontae Davis in the middle at a D tackle position, which is a plus because he's going into year 3 now on that defensive line. Also on the other end, having Antonio Doyle, making sure that he stayed, because he could have bolted out too, because he had a good season last year too. He could have bolted out. Having them that continuity, and then with TC and Coach O and Coach Bradley going into the portal, getting kids to come out of the portal, going into the high school ranks, which a lot of people really not doing right now, to the high school ranks, getting defensive players, especially defensive ends, because he wants kids that can fit his scheme. Him coming from Alcorn as the defensive, the D line coach, and what he did with that D line with Malachi Bailey and Claudine Churlis, just creating havoc for Shador in that game in that Soul Bowl, where it was hard for him to even to sneeze and breathe because the line was like in his face until the fourth quarter. That was surprising, but one other surprise, not saying as far as keeping, but that left was Juriante Davis, because he was going to be penciled in as, I would say, as the successor to Aubrey Miller.
Yeah.
That kind of hurt. Now that found out that he's committed to Texas A&M. Having
Terrible.
also, yeah, also having Jacob Humphrey, aka Big Boosie, jumping in the portal today, that kind of hurt a little bit too. But we still got guys that's gonna come in, that's being committed, that's committing to the school.
Just got one today.
Yeah, we just got
Transfer
one
linebacker.
from Louisiana Tech. I
Mm-hmm.
just saw that. We got a receiver that committed to us today. I think it's for either 20 this year or for next year. We just got a lot of it's always going to be. We got a lot of pieces that's coming in. Just waiting on for that summertime, and so they could get themselves into the school and get ingratiated into the system, and then when the fall ball comes, it's all go from there. And we shall see what's going to happen August 26th when we play South Carolina State in the MEX WAC Challenge. We got to get our lick back.
I will say with Jackson too, I think still coming out of the spring, because I know the spring game can't be an end all be all, but I had questions about the linebacking core exiting the spring game still, because they got a lot of athletic linebackers out there.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I don't see someone who replaces what Aubrey Miller did best. Because I mean, you could say Aubrey Miller took over games at times last season. I still don't see that guy. And it can develop. I'm not saying that that's going to be a weakness for Jackson or that they're going to, suck because of that. But that is the biggest question mark, in my opinion, out of the entire team. And I feel like the first 4 games, man, it is going to be like,
it's a test.
Yeah, it's a test because, I mean, you got South Carolina State, who's never a pushover. Then you go to FAMU. And then you travel to Texas State, which my guy G.J. Kinney just went over there, just took incarnate word in his first season as a head coach there, to the semifinals, and should have beat North Dakota State to go to the national title. Then you got to go to Baton Rouge and play. Then you got to go to Baton Rouge and play Southern. So there's no easy games in that 4-game stretch. So I really feel like Jackson, the one big positive I see is that defensive line. And I do think they're good enough to help that linebacking core kind of come into their own in a sense, in terms of develop, because like you said, Devontae Davis in the middle is one of my favorite defensive tackles in all of HBCU football, man. That dude is a grown man in the middle. And then you still got Jeremiah Williams, who was a top 5 graded. Yeah, he was a top 5 graded defensive tackle last year, according to Pro Football Focus. And then on the edge, you got Niles Gaddy, who's a first-team All-SWAC selection, probably going to be a candidate for preseason Defensive Player of the Year. You got Doyle, and then behind them, you got a former LSU 4-star, Phillip Webb, who's trying to get back into football shape. So I do feel like the front 4 is going to be able to help that linebacking core mature a little bit early in the season, because replacing all the biggest task. I feel like. Go ahead.
I didn't even say. I forgot something about. I didn't even talk about True Thompson. He really didn't even play last season. And he's going to be. I feel like he's going to be a contributor to this defensive line. It's just a lot of pieces. It's the main thing that we're worried about is the quarterback. And everybody said, well, Jason Brown looked a little bit shaky during the spring game. Grayson Thompson looked like down there a seasoned vet. But to me, I just feel like you're running 5 plays. You know what I'm saying? It's scripted, so you're not. Is I'm not saying it is going to tell everything from the spring that game, but um, you still got, like I said, you still got fall ball coming in. You still got fall camp.
Mhm.
So the competition is gonna thicken up. It's gonna be real hot up in there. Like I said last night on HBCU Nightly, Rick Thompson, which is Grayson's dad, he didn't check me, but he's like, "Hey, that QB1 ain't no lock." So he, when I have to go back through and I have to look at it again, I was like, yeah, you're right. It ain't a lot. I'm not saying that Grayson would be the actual starter, but you still got Jason Brown, he's a journeyman, but he has played in the SCS. He has played in FBS. You got Philip Short that's coming in from the JUCO ranks, and then you got Zy McDonald that was at Louisiana Lafayette, who is more of like he's your legit dual threat. Um, and he didn't even play in the spring because he was nursing an injury. Um, it just we won't know until fall comes, and, and with my prediction, I'm gonna say it just like this. My prediction, I feel like Jason Brown's going to be the starter. Grayson Thompson's going to be the 2. You got Zy McDonald, and then Philip Short is going to learn from all of them.
Yeah. So what's your prediction for next season? And like you think y'all could compete for the swag championship, or you think
I
y'all a
mean,
season away or something?
nah, I think we could compete for a SWAC championship because even though people say we rebuild, every team rebuilds. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's true.
And then you can reload too.
Yeah,
So like, it's not like we not. To us, we ain't scared of nobody.
I feel that.
we ain't scared of nobody. But realistically, though, I did say 10-1. But realistically, I'm looking at least 2 losses.
Mhm.
So I can say 9-2. But that one loss ain't gonna beat to no FAMU. I'm gonna say it just like that right now. It ain't gonna beat to no FAMU.
So Alabama State gonna get y'all a homecoming? That's what you saying?
Oh hell no. We put booster asses on. Come on now. It's homecoming. I don't even think we lost a homecoming game like that, bro.
Mhm.
But I mean the Alabama State game, I wish, man, it would have been so much just drama just leading up to it with E-Rob and if he was there, Prime. But
yeah,
now to us now it's just a football game where everybody gonna be there.
Yeah.
We still gonna sell it. I'm gonna tell you, still gonna sell that bet out.
Oh yeah.
We
Oh,
still
yeah.
gonna have them blue and white pom poms waving in unison as always. So it's no is I think it's still gonna be business as usual, like
yeah.
EPMD.
Hey, Blue, what's the realistic expectation for Tennessee State next year?
Oh man, I wish I would have the schedule in front of me, but
Hold
like
on.
I said the
I
other night.
I can pull it up for you if
All right. I mean, I think on the high end, without giving you a record prediction, I think it's competing for the OVC Big South merger. Whatever you want to put it. I mean, the Big
Yeah,
South lost all their top teams for the most part, outside of maybe Gardner Webb, but they're replacing a lot, and you don't have SEMO on the schedule. So man, there's not a lot of teams that you shouldn't be competing with and beating. So I think competing for the OVC, but if I had to put a win total just off the top of my head, I think you at least got to get 6 wins, man. That's the minimum for Eddie George's. You got to have a winning record, man. And I think you could probably push it to 7 wins if you really, really want to get to my expectations. I think 7 wins is where you have to be if you're Tennessee State with this roster.
What did UT Martin look like, man? Because I know they had problems with them last season too.
Yeah, UT Martin's going to be good. When I look at this OVC Big South merger, I still think SEMO wins it all. I mean, SEMO's going to be so good, man. They returned all their top contributors. Geno Hess got a 7th year of eligibility. He's going to be one of the top rushers in NCAA history at this point. I think Paxton DeLaurent is back as well. Man, they just got a lot of talent all around. UT Martin, they lost some of their top contributors to the transfer portal, but Dalen Dotson and some of those defensive players are back, and they got Sam Franklin, who was a freshman FCS All-American last year. They're going to be an issue, but I think SEMO's in Tier 1. Maybe you could throw UT Martin in there. There's no reason Tennessee State shouldn't be at the top of Tier 2 this season.
Well, fellas, listen, I truly appreciate it. Blue, tell the people where they can find you.
Man, listen, you can follow myself at Zach McKinnell on everything, at _Blue Bloods on all social media for the Blue Bloods account. Man, you can find us on YouTube, the Blue Bloods, and or all podcast streaming platforms. And you can find my work on Hero Sports. Man, I'm a FCS columnist over there now. And our website, thebluebloodcfb.com, we just started dropping an FCS front page with the top 4 to 5 storylines every single day right there on the front page of the website, man. So that's where you can find all our work. A lot of stuff going on at one time, and you can catch us down in the hole this weekend down here in Grambling State. But I appreciate y'all, man, for having me on.
Hey,
Yes,
always,
sir.
man, always. You know you got a open seat here. Doc, tell the people where they can find you, man.
Man, everybody, y'all can find me on HBCU Overdrive with Doc Holliday. Pretty much go on almost every night, every other night. Not to coincide with my guy Ken Clark, KC 1400 Club. Saturday nights I do a joint show with She Loves D, who's a Jackson State alumnus, who comes with straight facts. I always got my resident HBCU historian, Mr. Ford, that's always on the show. You can catch me, like I said, catch me on YouTube. I also stream it from Twitter and on Facebook Live. And of course, y'all can catch me on HBCU Nightly on Twitter with Josh Sims from that school in Durham and the rest of the crew, man. But nah, man, I thank y'all for giving me this platform, putting myself out there, and trying to get myself, out there so I get these credentials.
You'll be back, man. We'll be back.
Yeah.
They
good.
I think have y'all your day of giving? Have y'all already done that, or y'all still? I know they always taking donations.
I think Jackson State, we did our day of giving last week because it coincided with our spring game.
Gotcha.
But it don't matter to us. We always,
what can people donate if they want to donate?
I don't know what the website is, but I know it's going to be through the Jackson State University alumni. I know that's one way you could give to right there.
All right. Gotcha. Well, hey, fellas, as always, we appreciate y'all for coming on. Thank y'all for joining us, and we look forward to having y'all back, man.
All right,
for sure, man. Anytime.
Anytime.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate y'all. Now, gotta get our guy on.
Oh man, he back.
Hold on. We gotta do it right now. I was ready for this time. I was ready for this. Let's go ahead and get it ready. Bringing back to HBCU our guy D2 HBCU Football. Welcome back. Glad to have you back. Hold on. I'm moving kind of slow. My bad, man. But how you doing, man? Glad to have you back.
Man, appreciate y'all having me. What's up? How y'all doing?
We good, man. We good.
I'm good, bro. Good.
Hey,
bro.
man, let me just throw a little shade right off the rip.
Yeah.
Long as I sat backstage and I saw Doc and that JSU, my mind just kept on going back. That the last time JSU played the SIAC team, they got whooped both times.
Ooh.
Ooh. And because we really dusted them boys up in 2017. I went about 33-6, something like that. We really dusted them boys. Then them boys turned around and got dusted by Kentucky State. Yeah.
Doc said, hold up. Doc said he got to come back.
hey, bro. That was in our dark days right there. Those were the dark days of Jackson State football, bro. I don't remember that. It's like me drinking a whole thing of Henny. I don't remember none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That Circus City Classic, bro, I watched that, man. It was terrible. It was terrible, man. I watched that game. It was terrible. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I'm sorry, but we did get your coach. We got you. Got your coach.
And you know what? He hate the day he ever left. He should have stayed where he was.
Man. Hey, he did good. Hey, bro, he did good for us, but I don't think he should have made that move to Valley though.
Yeah, but you know, quite honestly, one of the things that I regret, because Coach Slater came in and did such a great job after Cummings, there was a lot of people who wanted to see Cummings versus Slater matchup, and I feel like both our institutions lost out. That game would have hit. Like the success that Slater was having, then he went to Jackson State and y'all were winning. Man, that would have been a good sight to see. So man,
that 7-8 year period right there, we tried to forget. We tried to forget that. It's just like that the other period after Coach Hughes, we let him go, and they brought in James Bell, who we really don't talk about because he tried to destroy the whole football program and like just the legacy of Jackson State. But hey, man.
Yeah, hey, my boy.
You ain't got to come at me like that. Come on, man.
You done gave Dr. some wounds right there, man. You brought that boy back to some dark times, man.
Man, come on, we don't even talk about that, bro.
Right.
my boy Doc got PTSD over there, man.
Hey, you know what?
Doc couldn't type that fast. No, he said, "Hold up, bring me back, bring me back."
But y'all wasn't the only ones during that time period. Pine Bluff got it. Texas Southern got it. FAMU got it.
A lot of kids teams got it with y'all in the SIAC. You know, y'all just play a different brand of football, man. Like it's like that old school type football that y'all play down there, man. Just like we gonna hit you in the mouth. We probably gonna talk about your mama. We gonna take your girl. You know, we gonna do all that. Man, that's how I see it. But I had to come back and defend myself, man.
I got you.
All right, man.
All right,
Doc. Hey, don't get mad at it. I wore my Alabama State shirt today. Just because I hadn't got my Tuskegee stuff yet.
So listen, that's all right. We ain't worried about them folk. Them folk can win for the next 30 years and we'll still have a winning record against them. We ain't stumped about that. We ain't stumped about them Hornets. And from what I saw Saturday, shouldn't nobody be worried.
Yeah. You know what? Because I do want to talk about that because I was at the game. And
we should have connected, man.
Yeah. I ain't realized. You're right. That's on me. The defense. Because I want to start positive. Those DBs, physical. It's gonna be hard to pass on them. The defensive line running stunts. Anytime Alabama's the offense dropped back to pass, defense was backed up. That defense is gonna be really good this year. That offense, yeah, and that's being positive. Now I will say this. When they were running the ball, they were able to pick up, chunk yardage. They were able to get 3 or 4 yards. They may even break a, 6-7 yard run. But passing left a lot to be desired. It's unfortunately, especially with Davis back there. The backups actually did a lot better, looked a lot better, in my opinion. But Davis was late on reads. When he make a read, and make the throw, it was. You could. I could literally look and be like, he finna go there, and then he'll go there, and it was like, oh, pick. So it was just bad. It was bad.
So there's room for improvement, is what you're saying.
Is there room for improvement? Well, that's like a Holiday Inn worth of rooms for improvement.
I'm always torn, especially talking about Bama State's offense right now because it's ran by a skiggy guy. The offense coordinator, he's a skiggy guy, but he has worked at 2 of our enemy schools. He was at Morehouse first.
Yeah.
And when I saw the offense, I was like, oh, this just looks like the Morehouse offenses that he used to run. I've heard the talk. Even I was on HBCU Nightly the other night, and they were talking, and I'm just like, no, that's what his Morehouse's offenses look like. No, that's what they look like. I think they have some issues, and I know I hear what y'all saying about the defense. However, I've seen that defensive line better at State. When they had the big guy in the tier, I can't think of his name right now. You couldn't run on Bama State. You couldn't run up that middle. I think part of the reason their DBs look so good, they don't have a wide receiver to take the top off.
I was just about to say that.
They just they're so stagnant. It's just too easy to read. Like they run that bunch trip set and they run out of it. And I'm like, wait, this is the same. I went back into a tweet from 2019 that I made because I really wanted to ask him a question like, why? Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? That was back during this time. Morehouse had this bad tight end. I mean, the boy was good. And they would just line him up. And I was like, he's off in the flats every time. Nobody ever picks him up, and they just never throw to him. So it was too many things that resembled what those Morehouse teams look like. And you can look at Morehouse record, and I think that's a pretty good test for maybe what Bama State probably will be this year. Outside of that, though, I don't see much for Bama State to be impressed about. I think they need Davis, like you said, those backups, they were good, but they're gonna need Davis's speed on the edge. That they're gonna need him because those offensive linemen, although they might have 2 or 3 pieces that they're gonna put together and change some things, probably even change how they. I remember when I was younger watching Southern one year, rolling that pocket out. Like they're gonna have to try to do some different things, and so maybe they'll get it together. I don't know, but. With all their players dipping out, who knows?
Yeah. I know your big thing, offensive line play. With Alabama State, the offensive line play, they could not stop a stunt.
No.
They couldn't stop a stunt. It was Eva Knievel in that thing. I mean, they were doing so much. I mean, like seriously, the defense would run, to a stunt, bam, they in the backfield. Just anything to come from the middle. Okay, bam, in the backfield. That's just what it was, and it wasn't even really blitzing. It was just a stunt, and they would get back there. So, but man, let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
And one of the things that just bothers me about offensive linemen, is what Zach was talking about, that communication. There is no communicating. I believe in offensive line culture to kind of be like they're the policemen of the football team. Like there is a culture that comes along with good offensive line play. And if they're not talking, the offensive line is not talking. If somebody on the offensive line is not chewing out those other guys and getting those guys like, hey, this is what they're seeing, they were all up there like deer in headlights. And I was like, okay, yeah, this bodes well for us because we need payback.
Yeah. Man,
so you was just the scout, and that's all you was doing pretty much.
Listen, I woke up, I knew I was gonna sell some cows Tuesday, so I got up and did that, and that just ran too late, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it to Fairfield in time. Let me just run up here to Bama State since they were gonna string miles. So I just went. I had on my Tuskegee gear, and they was talking at me when I was walking in. I'm like, hey, well, we'll see, because I thought I was gonna see something better. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. Never mind. I'm staying good graces. Miles. What did you see in them as far as because I know let's go ahead and go because I know your favorite place to go. How did they look up front? And I don't know how they did. I don't know if they split offense defense or they did the draft thing or ones versus. I don't know how they went.
So their setup was offense versus defense.
Okay.
They spotted the defense 24 points, and the offense score 24 points because that was Miles's problem. Their defense could hold people under 20 points, and they just couldn't score 20. They couldn't score 21 points, and so it was like something that they were trying to see if the offense could move and trying to find that guy at the QB. Overall, I was really impressed with Miles from where they were out of the spring games that I've seen. I think that they are. They're going to be a force to deal with. They do have their hiccups at the QB position. They have about 4 guys fighting. They said it was between Dexter Scott, Cam Ivory, and Norris, which is a transfer in. But I really like Cam. I think they're just going to have to go through the ups and downs with him.
Mhm.
But the offense he has more command over the offense, in my opinion. And I think that more than likely that's probably going to be the guy that comes out. And he can get it down the field for them. But from a production standpoint and how they just look, I think Miles is miles ahead of where they were last season this time.
Good pun. Defensively, carried them last year.
Yeah.
Well,
one of the things about Miles' defense that I was always telling people about, like 53, I think they had 18 quarters where people didn't score on them. Out of the 40 quarters of football that they played. And then you take out the 2 GSC teams, those are the only games they got really blowed out in. Because you look at the Benedict game and the Albany State game, there was only one offensive touchdown scored by Benedict and one offensive touchdown scored by Albany State. And those were the 2 better offenses in the league. So Miles was just they were there, they just couldn't score. I was wondering, I had some questions about could they replace a couple of DBs they had? Could they replace they had a linebacker that was great. But it was more like a plug in and reload, and then when I realized that Zion Sharp didn't play and they had another starting interior D lineman that didn't play, and I'm like, wait, those were the twos that was on the interior line? They were okay, yeah. I'm really glad they have a game before the Alabama State game this particular season to kind of like work out some things, and they have it against a Lane team that's going to be offensive. They're going to be offensively sound. Yeah. Them folks at 915 Jackson Street. Yeah, they might get tripped up by Miles this season.
What about skill players on the offensive side? Did Miles show anything? Actually, and let me ask this: play calling wise, we know a lot of spring games they're not showing much. But were you able to even look and say, okay, this guy's, you know what I'm saying, he jumps out on film or jumps out when you looking at tape, however you want to look at describe it.
They have I didn't have a roster, but I think his last name is Griffin. He wasn't on the team last season. He's a number 11. He's gonna be a hard guy for guys to cover, especially if the offensive line can give whoever is their QB one time. They only had 4 wide receivers on the roster for the spring game. So they got some coming in, some freshmen coming in, and I'm pretty sure that they are in that transfer portal, looking for to add some depth to that position. So I think, they might be a wide receiver away from really having a decent wide receiver core. Running backs, just pick one at this point. They have a Frazier, they have Blake Speed. They have a guy, I think his name is Boone, Aaron Boone, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't bring him in until like the last 2 drives of the spring game. I'm like, oh, so y'all were keeping him. Y'all didn't want us to see him. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what y'all doing. They are as well from a D2 perspective, as far as especially a D2 perspective with the portal, a D2 perspective, where in SIC we play a lot of true freshmen. This conference plays a lot of true freshmen. Where they are now, to add to that, if those freshmen that they have come in shape, Miles will be, they're gonna be okay.
Trying to think what else I had for Miles. What was that? You've been able to catch from the SIAC side, Skeegee, Clark,
Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Clark Atlanta.
You're not doing that.
Clark Atlanta. Yeah. Clark Atlanta.
Clark Atlanta, Miles. I'm not sure if you were able to see much on Benedict, or at least hear stories about Ben or hear about Benedict and stuff.
Yeah.
I know when we talked last time you were on about possibly who could challenge in the SIAC. Is Miles? Again, last year their record was not who they were. Is Miles in a position to challenge, at least be competitive this year?
It's gonna be can they hold up? Okay. I will say playing 2 FCS schools back to back is challenging. Mm-hmm. And then to turn around and get into like the meat of your schedule. The new format is going to be interesting, SIAC, because some teams got a good draw, some teams got a bad draw, or so you think. You know what I'm saying? Because you really don't know. Everybody wants to win, coming out. So it's just one of those things where like you can't lose a game. Like if Miles can't lose that first game to Lane, because you're not sure if Lane is going to lose 2 more games. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just one of those things now where you can't lose a conference game and get by. So that's going to be interesting. But can Miles challenge? It's going to be the lumps. How well do they grow with a new quarterback? They struggled at that quarterback position last year, and they're better. Every guy they have is better than what they showed last season. But they're gonna have to grow with them. It's just simple as that. They're gonna have to grow with them. They're gonna have some lumps. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm glad they have a game before the Alabama State game, but I'm sure like their focus is mainly on winning the conference. So that first game is gonna be really big for them. And can he grow up? It's gonna be how fast can he grow up and lead that team.
Yeah.
Man, I don't have much on Miles, or much more to ask on Miles. And you got something before we get up out of here?
No, I just really want to know, as far as Miles, kind of like, I know you said you think they competed depending on how well they grow and all that. Like, what you think is like their floor? Like, they should at least be this good, and if they can, put everything together, they can compete for the conference. But like the bare minimum, they should be this good.
Yeah, take the 2 FCS teams out. They should at least be 500 against their D2 opponents.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, listen. As always, appreciate you. I know I'm gonna put like you're a better man than me to be able to scout. The competition and fairly assess them.
Yeah, that ain't no lie.
I'll say that. Don't ask. No, man. No, I'm gonna leave it alone. But as always, man, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, D2 HBCU Football, TikTok, Skiggy Historians, Instagram, Skiggy Historian. We do every Sunday night, 7:00 p.m. Central. We have SIC Talk. Hopefully this week we'll have some coaches and some baseball coaches on to really talk about going into the baseball championship series. And so check us out.
All right. Also, tell people what because I'm trying to make sure people know where they can do this. If they want to donate to Ski, help Ski out, let them know how they can do it.
If you go to the tuskegee.edu, we have a portal right at the top of the page that's going to say our giving initiatives. You can click it. We break down initiatives like we have a digital scoreboard campaign going on. The band has a campaign going on. The Chili's have a campaign going on, so you can give directly to that. So just go to tuskegee.edu and you will see the Big Giving portal. And you can click on that and give to whatever you want to give.
I'm gonna give my $2 to the lights. Matter of fact, I forget all that. I'm gonna bring my own lights. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm bring them light bulbs. I'm put them in plus, screw them in, let them change the lights.
Oh man, I put my $2 on a light bill. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody thinking about that part.
But nah, man, for real, as always, man, we appreciate you. Like I said, we got it right this time. We gonna get up out of here like we supposed to. We'll be back on Monday talking more HBCU football. We'll actually do a draft preview. For talk about HBCU players, possibly who could be drafted or get a camp invite. Then we'll still talk a little bit of spring game too. So we'll see y'all back on Monday. But like that, we out.